There is a silent revolution going on behind the scenes.
Decreased employment last week ahead of President Biden's stimulus relief.
Something more serious and more profound than all of the events that you've experienced throughout your entire life. And the ones who take advantage of it will likely become the pioneers of a new era. Now, before I tell you what this revolution is, let me tell you why it is a silent revolution in the first place. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's a very specific reason behind that name. The reason why this is being called a silent revolution is because the system simply refuses to acknowledge it. It refuses to say it is, in fact, happening. They don't want to declare that this is indeed a real thing. So at the end, we're left with a gigantic shift in eras that's already taking place, but very few people are talking about. And taking advantage of this is like getting into Facebook ads in 2014. Getting to enjoy a new, completely untapped market growing at a fast pace. And most importantly, all the people you see becoming successful young, starting from scratch, have already joined this revolution. I've personally joined it too, and now it's the best time for you to join it as well. And I'll explain to you with statistics as to why that's the case in a second. Now, you're probably asking yourself if this revolution is artificial intelligence, and no, it's not. Now, AI is a part of it, but the revolution itself is much bigger than just AI, and it all started much earlier than AI. So what I'm about to discuss is the current scenario of this revolution, who's at risk, who's going to survive, and who's going to benefit from it. Because like any revolution, there's going to be profound consequences to it. Now, here's where I do want to mention that although I'm saying who's going to survive, don't worry, no one's going to go homeless or starve to death from this. I do want to be reasonable here. Now, the consequences of this new revolution won't happen instantly at the snap of a finger. That's not how revolutions happen. And this is really the first thing you need to understand, that the impacts of big shifts in eras are not felt instantly. Even if you take the Great Depression, people think that the crash of 1929 immediately plunged everyone into poverty and unemployment. I mean, that's how they make it sound in the history books, right? But what actually happened was that the crash happened on October 29th, 1929. And in that event, almost no regular citizen lost their money. Back then, only a very small portion of the population actually had stocks. So the crash didn't impact most people's savings at all. It only impacted investors. What caused the people to lose their money was the bank runs. Now, a bank run is when people think the bank is running out of money, so they run to withdraw the money that they have in the bank out of obvious fear that the bank is going to fail. Then, this actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As more people withdraw money, banks run out of cash and then eventually indeed fail. And that's how most people lost their money. When banks failed, people who hadn't withdrawn their money in time lost their savings. Now, these bank runs didn't happen right away, all at once. They came in waves. The first one happened an entire year after the market crashed in late 1930. Then there was another wave in the first quarter of 1931, and then a third one in the last quarter of 1931. And then finally, and the most severe wave happened at the end of 1932 and the beginning of 1933. And that was more than a year later before the bank run. And that's where the majority of people lost their savings. By then, 11,000 of the nation's 25,000 banks had failed. So it was only 4 years after the actual market crash that people lost their money. The point I'm trying to make is that when these big events happen, things don't change right away. They change over time. And usually, the major consequences happen not because of the event itself, but because of the indirect events that get triggered by the main event. Just like the bank runs that were triggered from the crash. It was an indirect consequence that took almost half a decade to take place. The thing is, once that chain reaction of events started, there's not much you can do to stop it. And this silent revolution is also a chain reaction of events. It will not take your job as a direct consequence. The problem is the indirect consequences that will happen 2, 3, 5 years from now. Now, the thing is, the chain reaction won't start. It already has started, and we can't stop it. And that's actually a good thing, because in our case, not only can we protect ourselves, but we can actually take advantage of this big event that's currently unfolding. Again, I want to make it very clear here that no one's going to starve to death. Quite the opposite. We are currently living through a time where food and resources have never been so widely available and mass distributed. Now, if you take advantage of this big shift in eras, you could benefit a lot. So let me explain to you what this silent revolution is. For this, we need to go all the way back to 2014. And that is actually when the silent revolution first started. You see, back in 2014, a few people started to realize the potential of internet marketing to create online income. You had things like Facebook ads and Google ads that were in their infancy. And the ones who took advantage of it got to explore a blue ocean market. The cost of advertising back then was dirt cheap. So these first adopters made a lot of money with it. And at the same time, very few people made money back then. And there's a reason for that. The reason why there were very few people jumping into this was because it was extremely hard just to do simple things. things. Creating a good ad campaign on Facebook with correct tracking required you to almost be a developer to get it done. You would need entire teams to run the most simple operations. You need a designer to design your website, a developer to build it and host it. You would need another developer to mess with the ads and tracking, and everything was super slow and archaic. Now, over time, things started to get easier and easier, and as they got easier, more people started to jump into this. Then, something happened. C19. You see, C19 accelerated the rate of adoption of this market by 10 plus years. A lot of money started to flow into this market. A lot of new software started to pop up, making this entire market much more accessible. And today, what used to take a team of 5 to 10 people to do, you can do alone, by yourself, without any experience. You have website builders, pre-built templates, ad mockups, and so on. And what used to be the hardest part has now become the easiest. And a plethora of different ways to take advantage of this world have started to pop up. And this revolution created this new world of internet money that wasn't there before. It created this new world in which, for the first time in history, one could go from zero to millionaire in just a few short years without any experience. A new world where you can make a lifetime of wealth in just a decade. And in the traditional system, and by that I mean the old world, it would take an entire decade just to start working a somewhat decent job. Whereas in this new world, you can become successful in just a matter of a few short years. And what you need to understand is this: a few years from now, it's going to be normal for regular people to live off an online income. I mean, how many people do you know in real life that are actually doing this today? Probably not that many, but that is changing, and it is changing quickly. The system may not acknowledge it yet, but the big guys who can feel the consequences of that have already started to adapt. They were forced to. Listen, if you take companies like Google and Facebook, they don't even require you to have a diploma to go work for them anymore. And not only that, but currently 50 to 60% of their employees are remote. And trust me, they are not doing that because they like it. They are doing that because there is a mass exodus that is currently happening. The top talent simply doesn't want to work with them anymore.
Facebook and Google, like many large tech companies, are currently facing significant challenges in retaining talent. These companies are grappling with the complexities of a shifting workforce landscape, where employee expectations around work-life balance and remote work options are increasingly critical.
These companies are struggling to retain their employees. They have noticed more and more that the average guy values freedom over money. Because trust me, a lot of people would prefer to work from anywhere they want, anytime they want, and make $200,000 a year instead of having to move to Silicon Valley, commute to and from work every day, pay insanely high rent, live in a city that they don't even like, and spend 8 hours of your day in an office to get paid $250,000 or even $300,000. And the most interesting part, these same guys that get paid $250,000 a year know that they can quit their jobs, get 3 to 5 clients paying them anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a month, make the same amount of money, if not more, while working just a few hours a week from anywhere that they want, simply by outsourcing 80% of the work to an AI and one contractor in a country where the currency exchange rate is favorable, just like India or Latin America. And for super cheap, they can hire an extremely experienced developer from these countries who will do all of the work for them at the same level of quality, if not even higher. So it's getting harder for these companies to compete with the perks of this new world. Now, the thing is, you don't need to be an ex-Google or an ex-Facebook employee to do the same. As I said, what used to be the hardest part of joining this new world has now become the easiest, which is actually fulfilling the work. And what I mean by that is if you're working with clients, before, the most difficult part used to simply be providing them with the services that they needed. Before, it required you to take 3, 4, or even 5 years to develop a skill. Today, even if you do have the skill, it's still easier to either outsource to someone else or to get AI to do most of the job for you. Ideally both. You don't need to know Facebook ads anymore to sell Facebook ads. You don't need to know how to develop anymore to sell web development services. What used to be the hardest part has now become the easiest. And most importantly, by leveraging other people's time and expertise, this allows you to not only make as much money as a Facebook engineer without any previous work, but it also allows you to do that without sacrificing your time and geographical freedom. Now, I'm sure you've heard or maybe even read of the 4-hour work week. The 4-hour work week is now more real and relevant than ever before. And I don't know if you know this, but that book was launched almost 20 years ago. And this is what you need to understand about the timing of this big change, that this revolution revolution didn't start today. It started over a decade ago. And the fact is, people are waking up. They don't want to go to college anymore. They don't want to be stuck in a city anymore. They do not want to be reliant on an outdated, broken system anymore. It's a new economy that we are moving towards. This is a revolution in the way that we work, in the way that we make money, in the way that we enjoy our freedoms. It is a new economy, an economy of sovereignty. And that is why I call this silent revolution digital sovereignty. And this is what you need to understand about it. This is an urgent matter, and here is why. Just like with any big breakthrough, there's a curve of adoption. At first, it's very hard to get into this new world. I mean, think of a computer. When the first computers were launched, you needed to know a lot of coding to interact with the computer's interface in its own language. And it was very hard to learn that. Now, over time, computers became way more simple to use, to the point that virtually anyone was capable of using a computer. And this is where we currently sit in this new world of digital sovereignty. Now, here's what you need to understand. The computer didn't stop evolving there. It kept evolving faster than ever. Today, you can do things with your computer that were unimaginable just a decade ago. Now, if someone who never touched a computer before were to try to learn how to do those things today, it would take them years to learn. And by the time they finally learned, the technology would have evolved so much further that it would take them years to learn what would already be outdated, to the point where they would never be able to catch up because they lost the optimal period of adoption. And that is that small period in time right before the two curves cross. The curve of how easy it is to adopt a new technology and the curve of how complex that technology gets over time. On the other hand, I'm sure you already see your parents struggling with new technologies even though they've been using them for the last decades. So imagine someone who never used them. That's someone who adopted that technology too late. And as the line on the chart shows, technology develops so quickly that they will never be able to catch up. Now, as I said, this silent revolution didn't start today. It started well over a decade ago. Back then, it was virtually impossible for the average person to enter the world of digital sovereignty because of its complexity. But today, we are living through that optimal period on the adoption curve. Now, if you wait too long, we're going to get past the tipping point where the ease of adoption starts to decline because of how exponentially faster this new world will be developing moving forward. Now, realistically, that was only meant to happen in the next decade or so, but we had an important event along the way that sped things up by over 10 years, and that event was C19. So now, it is the best time to get started because it is the easiest it has ever been, while at the same time, it still hasn't evolved so much that you can't catch up. Now, what happens if you don't seize this opportunity in time? And that is what I want to show you now. Now, right before recording this episode, I actually came across this article and it really caught my attention. So let me just take out my phone and read it to you. Japanese man retires at 45 only eating rice and vegetables for 21 years straight. A Japanese man recently retired at the age of 45 after spending over 2 decades living a simple and minimalist lifestyle. Now, his journey began in the early 2000s with a determined goal: to save 100 million yen, which is approximately about $640,000, and break free from the grind of the corporate life. Now, to achieve this, he drastically cut back on his expenses, primarily subsisting on rice and vegetables for 21 years. His frugality extended to extreme measures, such as using the summer heat to cook sweet potatoes on a colleague's car windshield and living without basic comforts like air conditioning and heating. Now, here's where things get interesting. By early this year, he had successfully saved 135 million yen, which is actually about $860,000, surpassing his initial goal. However, the recent depreciation of the yen has significantly reduced the value of his savings, leading him to question whether the sacrifices he made were truly worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is tough. His goal was to save 100 million yen, which is about $680,000, and break free from the grind of the corporate life, which is what everyone truly wants, right? And from very early on, we are put in this weird grind, this weird routine of wake up early, go to school, do something you hate for 5 to 8 hours straight, get home fucking exhausted, eat some bullshit, and then go to sleep because we're so tired, and tomorrow we have to do it all over again. And then after 12 years doing that every single day of your life, you just now replace school with college, and then after 5 to 7 years, you then replace that with getting a job instead. Or even worse, you have to do both at the same time. And it only gets worse as life goes by. You get more miserable. You get older, so you have less energy and less hope and less belief. And you still need to do the exact same thing because you simply have no other option. And at the end of it all, once you finally manage to save enough for a modest retirement, the government goes there, f***s it all up because some old dude in office who doesn't give a flying fuck about you decides to impose some new economic policy, so now your money is diluted and inflated, and now it's worth absolutely nothing. And it's almost comical, except for the fact that it is truly, truly heartbreaking. This is the ultimate reflection of what I call the old world. And when you are stuck in the old world, you become a subordinate to other people's decisions, a subordinate to things that are outside of your control, the economy, the job market, a subordinate to your work, to your paycheck, to your boss, to your teachers, to your parents. You are never in control of your time, in control of where you live or where you can travel to, not even in control of your own money. And the problem is, we never question this. We just accept that this has to be the way. And I call this the autopilot existence syndrome. That is, living life on autopilot, just accepting what is thrown at you instead of living it purposefully. And ever since growing up, I was always someone who questioned everything. I never saw much sense in following that same path. I always asked myself, why does it have to be like that? Why do I need to go to school? Why do I have to go to college? Will I just have to work a boring job my entire life until I retire? Does it really have to be like that? And the truth is, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. Not anymore. Now, when your parents were born, that was the way. They had very little that they could do to break out of the traditional system of the old world. So honestly, most people didn't have an option. Now you do, and you have to make the most of it. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for them. That's what I did. I didn't do it for me. I did it for my mother, so she could live the life that she currently lives. If not for you, do it for someone else. And that is why you need to take advantage of this, because it is the only way out. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity, you will be inevitably stuck in the old world. Now, if you do take advantage of this, let me give you a glimpse of what your life could look like. This is how good the new world of digital sovereignty can be. And the truth is, I didn't work nearly as hard as the Japanese guy from the article. Imagine eating the same food every single day of your life for 21 years straight, just to retire and have to live a life of limited freedoms and a sad existence. I know I couldn't do that. And luckily, we don't need to, because as sovereign men, we get to enjoy the spoils of the new world. And by that, I mean financial sovereignty, geographical sovereignty, and sovereignty of time. To live life on your own terms, to be the one calling the shots, to do whatever you want, whenever you want. Now, if you're not living this life yet, first of all, I want you to know it's not your fault. We've all been there. We've all been stuck in the old world as subordinates. Even the original sovereign men were once subordinates. You see, in episode 1, I talked a lot about the American Revolution and the sovereign men behind it. The truth is, Thomas Jefferson was a lawyer before the revolution, and he couldn't choose his own cases. He was forced to represent British interests that conflicted with his own personal beliefs. He wrote in his journal, "I am but a puppet, dancing to the tunes I do not choose." George Washington was a young military officer under British command. He was ordered to defend policies that he disagreed with and even denied permission to visit his dying brother. And he also wrote, "I am not a master of my own actions." Then you had Benjamin Franklin, who had a printing business and was often censored by the British powers. He once had to publicly apologize for publishing content that was deemed inappropriate. And he later wrote, "I feel as though I'm not in control of my own words." Even Elon Musk, before his entrepreneurial success, found himself stuck in jobs that was robbing him out of the time he wanted to put into creating his own company. He tweeted, "Creating a company is almost like having a child. How am I supposed to have a child and not be there?" They all wanted to do something, but they simply weren't allowed. They had to go against their will and just do as they were told, just like a subordinate does. They all suffered from what I call sovereign deficit disorder. That is that deep desire to be sovereign while being stuck in the skin of a subordinate, having to deal with the unnerving feeling that you are not in control of your own actions. Now let's be real here. From the moment that you set your alarm last night, someone else has been calling your shots. You didn't wake up this morning because you wanted to at that time. You had to get ready for work or to study. And you might think that you chose what to eat for breakfast, but the truth is that you ate what you could afford and what you had time to make. That choice was just an illusion. You didn't even choose to watch the video that you just clicked on. An algorithm made that choice for you and put it on your feed. And unless you're looking out at a tropical paradise, I guarantee that you've not chosen to work where you are physically sitting right now. So take a second and answer me this question honestly. Have you made a single choice for yourself today? The nasty truth is that you've surrendered every inch of your life, of your free will, to someone else, to something else, just like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and Elon Musk had to do once. And at the end of the day, what separates a sovereign man from a subordinate? Is it money? Is it power? No. A sovereign man chooses. A subordinate obeys. So, how do they finally solve this problem? Well, there's only one way. And that is by achieving the trifecta of sovereignty. That is financial sovereignty, geographical sovereignty, sovereignty of time. And through that, they become a sovereign man. And that is the only way out of the old world. That is the way out of being a subordinate. Now, here's the thing. In order to do that, they needed to convince an entire nation to buy this fight and actually fight an entire war to claim their sovereignty. They had to risk everything they had, their work, their family, their land, their livelihood, all of that in the name of sovereignty. Now, today, you don't need to fight a war. You don't need to get an entire nation to come together and overthrow this powerful ruler. Today, you can do it by yourself. You can achieve your own individual sovereignty without depending on anyone other than yourself. And realistically, all you need to do is to send a few emails and jump on a few Zoom meetings. That is all it takes. Now listen, of course, that is an oversimplification. There are a few more steps to it, but it's still an extremely simple process compared to what it once was. And if you're still watching at this point, it means that you're interested. Not only interested, but you have this deep, burning desire inside of you to become free, to become sovereign. You want to jump into this. You just don't know how. So, what would you have to do to jump into this new world, to become a sovereign man yourself? Now, in order to become a sovereign man, you need the 4 sovereignty codes. And I already explained this in episode 2, but in case you missed that, I'm going to give you a 2-minute overview of what they are and why you need them. First, you need a sovereign mindset. You see, if you want to have the freedom that only 1% of the world can enjoy, you need to have the knowledge that 99% of them don't have. And not just any knowledge, not conceptual knowledge, but empirical knowledge. Knowledge that you acquire by learning from the ones who have already achieved what you want to achieve. And that is how every single original sovereign man I mentioned at the beginning of this video broke out of the chains of subordination. Second, you need a sovereign environment. You're not going to succeed alone all by yourself locked in your room. So just get over that idea and stop being lazy. Now, you don't need to take a boat and go an expedition across the ocean into an unknown land like Christopher Columbus had to. You simply need to find a group of people online that are working towards the same goal as you. It's that simple. Third, you need a sovereign business. So let me give you a 3-minute masterclass on how to be successful in business. When you start a business, there's 3 different things that you can leverage: money, time, and expertise. And if you have all of them, you can do pretty much whatever you want and it's going to be successful. If you have money and expertise, but you don't have a lot of time, then you need to find a business where you can leverage your capital and that has high barrier of entry, which will create lower amounts of competition, while the high barrier of entry won't be a problem for you because you have the expertise needed to run that business. Think about starting a software business, a big physical brand, and things along those lines. Now, money and time, you hardly ever have both of them. Now, you might have time and expertise, and if that's your case, you sell your time and expertise, and that's what having a job is. Some people do that as freelancers or service providers, but at the end of the day, if you are selling your time, you're still a subordinate, even if you have your own business. At the end of the day, you're just a glorified employee. And I can say that with confidence because I was there selling my time and my expertise in content creation, making $15,000 a month with my agency, and it felt more miserable than when I had my first client paying me 95 pounds a week. And that's why I ripped that entire agency apart and transitioned into an advertising agency instead. Now, if you don't have money, you don't have expertise, and you don't have time, or maybe you do have time, but you don't want to sell it because you don't want to become a subordinate, then what do? Well, what you need to do is be smart. Instead of leveraging your time and your expertise, you leverage other people's time and other people's expertise. So that way you don't have to spend years developing a skill. So how do you leverage other people's time and expertise in practice? You do that through a service-based business. You find a business that needs a service, you get someone else who has the experience to fulfill that service, then you get the business to pay you for that service, and you pay the person on your team after they fulfill the service. This way, you can start with 0 funds and at no risk. And that is what I call contractor arbitrage. It is the best way for you to start a service-based business with 0 money out of pocket by leveraging other people's time and expertise. That is an agency, and that is all an agency is. Listen, the judge and the banker might make $100,000 a month, but they also have to work 10-hour days of a highly stressful and brain-dead job that deep down inside, they hate. And not only that, but they can only enjoy two-week vacations a year, while you, as an agency owner, can make $10,000 a month, but while working 4 hours a week on your agency from anywhere in the world. So, who is actually richer at the end of the day? Do you really think that money is the only aspect of living a good life? If you do, you are very foolish, my friend, and you're someone that has not walked the path. So coming from someone who's actually walked this path, I can tell you, I would never put making more money over losing my geographical and my time freedom. Oh, and by the way, I was still able to hit $100,000 months in my agency. It wasn't every single month in my agency career, but many months we were able to accomplish that. And I was able to accomplish that while still only working a few hours a week because I had my team that was running it. And that's the real difference between them and us. They have a job, we have a business. They have duties, we have options. Now, finally, the last thing you need to become a sovereign man is to develop a sovereign structure. In essence, all business is just a collection of processes. Now, some people might say that a business is made of people or business is made of products, but that's actually bullshit. To develop the product, you need a process, product development. To get the people in the first place, you need a process. That's called a hiring process. And even then, every single person that you hire, all they're doing in essence is executing processes, onboarding a client, uploading ads, writing emails for clients, reaching out to potential clients, billing clients, communicating with clients, choosing a service, choosing a niche, creating your product. All of these are processes. All a business is, in essence, is a collection of processes. And the reason why some people don't know how to start or run a business, or the reason why most people fail, is that they have no idea how to execute those processes correctly. Their processes suck, so their business sucks. It's as simple as that. So the very first thing you must do if you want to have a successful business is to start collecting those processes, documenting them in writing, step by step in excruciating detail. Now, once you have them documented, every single time you run that process, you can improve it, iteration after iteration, until you get to a point that all of your processes run smoothly. Now, if you look at each process in isolation, it might not look like that much, but when you run them all together in sync, they make a successful business. I mean, listen, it's just like a computer. If you look at each part separately, it doesn't look like that much. There's the HD, the RAM, the processor, the graphics card, all of which are, to be honest, quite unexciting and pretty much useless alone. But when you put them together, you get a machine that's able to create entire movies, 3D scenes that our eyes can't distinguish between simulation and reality. You get a machine that can guide rockets to the moon and run the calculations to get human beings to space. And at the end, all of that is just a collection of processes running together. That is how powerful processes are. And your business is the same. Each individual process is like one of the computer parts. And when you put them together, you create this powerful machine that can create financial, geographical, and time sovereignty in your life. Luckily, I noticed this very early on. So I started to document my own process, again, in excruciating detail, so that way I could improve them over and over. And I even started a software company called Flozy, so that way I could collect those processes and make the day-to-day operations of running said processes in my agency as smooth as it could be. Because the better your processes are, the more successful your business becomes. And with Flozy, I could run all of my agency's processes from the same place. Instead of having to separate softwares for billing, client communication, project management, service delivery, web development, onboarding clients, managing my CRM, and even collecting my documents in my agency processes, I could run everything from the same place, thus making those processes even smoother. And again, my agency was not made of those processes. My agency was those processes. Those processes are quite literally my agency. If someone was to steal those, it would have been as if you had stolen my agency. And with that, I get to the conclusion that the difference between you and me is not that I'm smarter than you or that I work harder than you. The difference is that I have the proven processes and you don't. And that is what a sovereign structure represents. And this is the map to becoming a sovereign man. When you implement the 4 sovereignty codes, you too will become a sovereign man yourself. And you will get to enjoy all of the spoils that come with jumping into this new world of digital sovereignty. And by the way, I'm not referring to specifically money here. After all, majority of you watching didn't get started in this journey because of the money, but rather because of the freedom that becoming sovereign can provide you with. And that might be the ability to finally drop out of college. It might be the ability of finally quitting your job to stop working on someone else's dreams and start working on your own. It might be the ability of working on something that actually fulfills you, allows you to take care of the ones around you, and enjoy a lifestyle of freedom where you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, without having to ask for permission. Basically, what it means to become a sovereign man is that you will finally get back ownership of your life and get to live life on your own terms by your own rules. That is what a sovereign man does. So now you really have three options. The first one is to simply ignore everything you just discovered and miss out on the best time in history to become a sovereign man. The second one is to try to figure out everything by yourself, which is indeed an option, but if we're being reasonable here, by the time you do figure it out from your own mistakes, we would have most likely run out of the optimal period already, and it'll be too late for you to ever catch up. And the third option is for you to choose the smart way, which is let me hand you the 4 sovereignty codes on a silver platter so that way you can start putting them into practice today. First, I want to give you the sovereign business as well as the sovereign structure. In fact, I want to give you a done-for-you business structure. You see, I took my entire library of processes that I collected, improved, and perfected over my 6 years of running an agency, and I categorized these processes into each phase for you. Each phase contains the exact processes that you're going to need at each stage of your journey. So instead of just giving them all to you in a bundle and letting you figure it out, you will have the exact phases that you will go through with your agency in the right order so you know exactly in which order you need to execute them on. And it all starts with phase 1, which is your agency setup. Inside this phase, you're going to get every single process you need to run before you start signing clients. It starts with a process on how to choose a service, which includes a flow chart of a series of questions you need to ask yourself to select the right service for your agency. It also includes a list of profitable services that are working right now that you can go ahead and choose from. Now, how do we know what's working right now? Well, because there are agencies inside Flozy billing their clients a lot of money every single month for those services. And by the way, not just one agency or two agencies, we've had over 30,000 agencies sign up to Flozy. And whenever we see a new service popping off, we add it to that list so it's always up to date. And then you're gonna get a process on how to choose a profitable niche for the service of your choice, which comes with a decision-making matrix for you to pick the best one for your situation, as well as a list of proven profitable niches. Then you're gonna need a website for your agency. And that is why you're gonna get 20 plus pre-built website templates to choose for your agency, and the process on how to actually install it so that way you can have it up and running in less than an hour with just a few clicks. All of that inside of Flozy, so you don't have to pay for any other website building or hosting software. And then you're gonna need to have an onboarding flow to actually onboard your clients. And that's why you'll get the pre-built client onboarding flows preloaded into your Flozy account with a process on how to actually install it with just a few clicks. And not only that, but you will also get a pre-built custom client workspace templates with all of the tasks they need to do already preset. And you're also gonna get the exact same process and templates for onboarding team members. And then you're gonna get a process on how to invoice clients so you'll know exactly what to do when it comes time to getting paid. And I'm also gonna give you the pre-built invoices, so all you need to do is to connect your bank account and that's it. You will have the exact step-by-step on how to do all of that, as well as how to set up your automated client billing inside this process so that every single month you get paid by your clients automatically without having to do anything. This way, all you need to do is send them an invoice once and that's it. It runs every month. Then on phase 2, you'll have all the processes on building your offer. Here is where we build an offer that clients cannot refuse. You're gonna have processes on market research, customer personas, how to define your unique selling propositions, how to structure your offer, how to price your offer, how to take advantage of tiers and bundles, how to structure guarantees, as well as how to test and optimize your offer. Now, most importantly, you will have access to the same $10,000 offer framework that I use in my own agency to sign clients that are paying me over 5 figures a month. In phase 3, you will have all the processes you need for prospecting. Here, we focus on collecting information that will help us get the offer you just crafted in front of the right people. And all that we're doing here is basically building a list of potential clients to work with. You're gonna have the process on research and list building. And then instead of giving you a process on where to store those contacts and how to organize them, my team inside of Flozy has built a CRM system where you can store and organize all of your potential contacts right inside of Flozy. I mean, listen, just this process alone will save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year from having to invest into third-party CRMs. And not only will you get a CRM tool, you'll also get pre-built CRM structures as well as client sales funnels. This will be one of the most important systems when it comes to running your agency. Then in phase 4, you will have processes on outreach. That is, taking this list of potential clients you built and reaching out to them. You're gonna have a proven process on how to craft a personalized message, how to choose the right channel to contact them through, how to approach the initial contact, and you'll also get my own outreach frameworks for email, cold calling, Instagram DMs, follow-up frameworks, and then after that on phase 5, you will have all the processes for the sales process. And that includes processes on how to navigate the sales process, how to execute effective sales meetings, my exact sales framework that positions yourself as an authority, just like a doctor does, so that clients never feel like they're being sold to, but rather diagnosed of a problem and then prescribed a solution. You're even gonna get my own sales pitch deck template. And then after that, in phase 6, you will have the processes for hiring. You're gonna have a process on how to set up your deals so that way you can hire contractors without ever having to pay anything out of pocket, because the client pays you upfront at the beginning of each month, which is normal in agency services, and we only pay our contractors at the end of the month after the service has been delivered, which once again is normal in this industry. And you will also have a process on how to find the best candidates for each service. You're gonna get a comprehensive hiring process that includes hiring posts, message templates, interview questions, and even pre-built contracts. And you're also gonna get a process on how to ensure that they are delivering high quality work. Finally, in phase 8, you're gonna get all the processes related to service delivery. Basically, all processes that you need to execute projects and deliver services efficiently and effectively, ensuring high client satisfaction and maintaining high quality standards. Now, with all of that together, you have a done-for-you agency structure. That is your sovereign business and your sovereign structure. All of that pre-built for you. All you need to do is take that structure and plug and play it as your own business. Now, I also want to give you the sovereign mind and provide you with a sovereign environment. And that you will find inside Agency Accelerator. Remember, the way to develop your sovereign mind is by acquiring knowledge, but not just any type of knowledge, empirical knowledge, which you acquire by learning from the ones that already accomplish what you want to accomplish, reverse engineering their success and what worked for them in practice. And inside Agency Accelerator, you get to learn not only from me, but also from 4 other highly successful agency owners, all of whom have gone through every single stage of the journey to sovereignty, including the 4th one that I'm going through right now. The first being Matt and Josh, and together they have built 9 agencies in a row to prove that it's not luck. 2 of which are currently doing more than $200,000 a month, and they have closed 500 agency clients in the last 12 months. And as Matt says himself,
I did all of this as an extreme introvert who absolutely hated talking. I was deathly afraid of the word sales.
So if you too are an introvert who's afraid of the word sales and is asking yourself if this is still achievable for you, well, that's your answer. In fact, every single 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneur who teaches inside Agency Accelerator is an introvert, myself included. We also have Guillaume, who's the owner of Lemlist, the tool that every single successful agency out there uses to send their outreach campaigns to get new clients. Just so you really understand this, in the last 30 days, $118 million worth of client deals were closed through Lemlist. And Guillaume has the inside scoop on all of those deals, so he knows exactly what is working right now. And today, Guillaume's business is worth over $250 million in valuation. And you know how he started all of that? He started by taking the profits out of his agency and using that money as leverage to start the software business. And that is how you get to the 4th stage of sovereignty. And that's exactly what I've been in the process of doing the last couple of years. And more on that in just a second. And finally, you're gonna get to learn from Pierre, who is my own business partner and co-founder at Flozy. He gets to see the inside operations of 10,000 plus agencies on a weekly basis. So he also practices what I preach of learning from the success of others. The reality is, if you want to start a business, an agency is the best business to get into as a beginner. If you want to start an agency, you have to learn from the ones who have already run a successful agency. And there is no one better to learn from than these guys right here. And that is a fact. You're gonna learn service delivery, you're gonna learn sales, you're gonna learn outreach, you're gonna learn mindset, you're gonna learn how to set up your agency from scratch, even if you have no previous business experience. And everything else you need for this done-for-you business structure that you will actually get preloaded inside of your Flozy account and put it to run at full steam without any guesswork. And with this knowledge, we've had kids straight from high school successfully starting their agencies and scaling them to $10,000 a month plus.
And I thought stuff like, hey, I'm 15, how will I be able to do it? I'm from Sweden, I have a strong accent, how will I be able to do it? So scale to 8K a month in 30 days. You guys heard that right. From like a few $100 a month to 8K a month in 30 days. Only thing I changed was actually started attending the calls in Agency Accelerator. I started being active in the community and everything like that. But then after that, I hit 8, 10, 12, 15, And now last month I did 34K.
And not only have we had people do this in North America or in Europe, but also in countries like India, Nepal, Algeria, South Africa, and everywhere else that you can imagine. And with this knowledge, we've even had countless people who can barely speak English succeeding. I literally just opened up my Instagram account and saw a post from the Agency Accelerator Instagram account with a carousel of a few of the community wins today. The first win was from Constantine, who got 2 agreements signed and paid for overnight while he was asleep. Now, do you get what I mean when I say that you will truly achieve true sovereignty when you stop selling your time? Because if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will always be a subordinate. And Constantine has found a way out. He became a sovereign man and is literally making money while he sleeps. And the second win right after that was from Thomas, who started another agency in August and has reported that he is on track to do $10,000 in his first month in a completely new niche. Now pay attention to what he says here. Business success is exponential. Once you nail the system once, it's plug and play. So today, I'm giving you the proven system already. All you have to do is plug and play it. Now the next win is from Steven. He signed his first client for $2,000 and the next day, another one for $2,000. So in 2 days, he has already secured enough recurring income to quit most people's jobs. And those are just 3 of the wins that you're gonna find inside the Agency Accelerator community. I could literally sit here and go on for dozens of hours. I mean, just inside of the wins channel inside the community, we have 2,000 plus wins. And listen, it could be very well many times that, but it is humanly impossible to count all the messages on there. And you're gonna get access to the exact same assets that led all of these guys to get the results that you just saw. And not only that, you will also get access to the exclusive private community that we have inside Agency Accelerator, where you're gonna personally get to network with all of these people working towards the same goal as you. Because as I told you, if you try to do this on your own, isolated in a room, the likelihood of you succeeding is slim to none. Now, with this, you will have access to the 4 sovereignty codes: the sovereign mind, the sovereign environment, the sovereign business, and the sovereign structure. Now, if you watched episode 3, you probably remember that AI agent that my team has built. Now, we've actually been experimenting with it alongside our engineering team, and it's been getting to a point where this thing is not only good, but it can actually achieve 80% of the result that a world-class copywriter can generate, with a small difference in 1/100th of the time. So here's what I've done. I have attached the AI agent inside of Agency Accelerator. So that way you can use that AI to get the service delivery done for you without having to hire a contractor. And I already showed you the type of results that it can pump out in episode 3. And you are gonna have this as your first employee. Now, just like any other employee, you still need to pay for its work. You know, people don't work for free, because every single time the AI executes a task, it charges you a few cents to process that task. Just like ChatGPT. You know, ChatGPT isn't free, it's a monthly subscription. And this can get quite expensive depending on how complex your tasks get. And the tasks we're executing here are indeed very complex. So this stuff adds up to $100, even a few $100s a month. But you don't have to worry about that, because I am personally going to pay for this employee for you for the next 3 months. I've gone ahead and preloaded hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit from my own card for you to use this AI agent on me. Now, why would I do this? Because as I said, I'm playing a different game. I'm playing the game of equity. I mentioned this in the last program, but I have no interest in selling courses or programs or anything like that. The only focus I have is on building my software company, my subscription platforms, and in order for people to keep paying for subscriptions or softwares, they have to be making use of it. They have to be succeeding. So I am done with selling courses. I'm selling you the software, and I'm adding the courses in as a free bonus. As mentioned, I'm using money as my leverage to grow my software businesses as quick as humanly possible. By the way, even if that means that I have to break even or make a small loss for every single user who signs up. And most importantly, the main metric in which a software business gets valued is its churn. And if your churn is high, you're screwed. So it would be dumb for me to get thousands of people inside Flozy just for them to stop using the software shortly thereafter. That would deeply hurt how much my business gets valued in future. So it only makes sense for me to promote this if I believe from the bottom of my heart that you have a high likelihood of achieving success with this offer. So I'm trying to give you all of the possible assets that I can give you to make sure that you have the highest likelihood of success, because that is the only way that you're gonna keep using Flozy for years to come. If your agency fails, you're gonna stop using it, and that hurts me. So trust me when I tell you that I want you to succeed as much as you do. Our incentives are 100% aligned here, and I know the most difficult period of a business is when you're first getting started. So I wanna take all of that burden off of you and pay for this to be your first employee for the next 3 months that you run your business entirely free on me. Now, normally just to get a Pro Flozy subscription, it's $89 a month, so $1,068 per year. And then the full price of Agency Accelerator is $1,995. Now, the AI, you wouldn't even be able to get that because that's just for internal use in my team. And same for the collection of proven processes. There's no price for this. Now, with this package that I'm calling the Flozy Sovereignty Package, you're gonna get a 12-month subscription to Flozy, and then you're gonna get Agency Accelerator for free. You're gonna get my done-for-you business structure for you to plug and play, already preloaded inside of your Flozy account for free. You're gonna get your first AI employee for free. And as if that wasn't enough, I wanna increase the stakes here because I need you to win. For the people who are actually committed, I'm gonna give you a very special fast action bonus. The first 500 people who register will get access to a 6-week implementation coaching program with me. We call this the 6-week fast track. And we've run this program literally thousands of times over the years, and it simply works. It tells you exactly what you need to do, where you need to click, and which tasks you need to focus on week by week during the 6 weeks, so that by the end of the program, you have your agency ready to start signing high-paying clients. Now, usually we would have a student success concierge for my team running you through this program. The difference is, this time around, I am personally going to be your coach. You are gonna get to learn directly from me. You're gonna get to jump on an actual live Zoom call with me once a week for 6 weeks, and I will tell you exactly what you need to do to have your own agency up and running and ready to start paying you 6 weeks from now. Now, here's how much it's actually gonna cost. The price for this package could be well over $10,000 because there's certain things in here that money can't even buy. You know, you can't even buy these things separately. But if you just take what you can actually buy, which is the 12-month Flozy subscription and Agency Accelerator, that will cost $3,063. But today, you're not gonna pay $3,063. You're not even gonna pay half of that. Today, you are gonna get all of that for less than the price of one Flozy subscription. You're gonna get it for $995. Everything else you get outside of Flozy is completely free as a free bonus. And I'm officially opening up the enrollments right now. You can find the link to buy in the description below if you're watching after the premiere. And if you're watching the premiere live right now, I will personally drop the link in the live chat in 3, 2, 1, now. When you click the link, you're gonna get redirected to the sales page where you're gonna get to see all of the details of this offer. We also have a full team of people who are ready to help you live in case you have any questions. Listen, the fact of the matter is there is a silent revolution going on, the silent revolution of digital sovereignty, and we are currently living through the best period in history to join the new world that this revolution has created, and as a result, become a sovereign man who gets to enjoy the spoils of financial sovereignty, geographical sovereignty, and sovereignty of time. On the other hand, the longer we stay in this situation, the harder it gets to break free from the old world. And when we get past the point of optimal adoption, none of these that we just discussed will be useful anymore. So you either decide to become a sovereign man now, or you will have to live with the fact that you settled for being a subordinate. And as I told you back in episode 1, to become a sovereign man, it requires a decision to be taken. Just like during the American Revolution, they declared their independence. You too need to declare yours. And as I told you, this wouldn't be an easy decision, but one that has to be taken. And I took mine 7 years ago when I dropped out of high school, which was all that my mom had worked for her entire life. So are you gonna take yours? That is a decision that you need to make for yourself. And by the way, you have literally no financial risk when you get the Flozy Sovereignty Package today. And that's because we have a 100% money back guarantee. Try it for a full 7 days. And in case you don't like what's inside of it for any reason, all you have to do is email support asking for a refund, and we will process it within 48 hours of your request. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you become a sovereign man. And as always, I'm watching from afar and I'm rooting for you.